Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. Spin my top 10 stocks as we head into Wednesday, July 2nd. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you are someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this will be a video for you. First off, a couple clarifications. Number one, this candlestick right here will be moving around and changing. That is because the market's still open for a small amount of time. But I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. Second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here represents 30 minutes worth of time. So ticker symbol number one, WOLF, Wolf. And we had quite the movement on this one, big volume, and now we're looking at a good solid pattern. And I think a lot of people will be watching this general pattern. And I make that comment because when a lot of people are watching the same general patterns and wondering the same general things, call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, call it whatever you want, it can produce some very dynamic movement. So as far as the pattern is concerned, the first part of the pattern, I'm just going to go ahead and use the pink line right there as the area of resistance for it. So this is essentially the area where the price has struggled, and that'll be the top part of the pattern. So let's just get that drawn into play right there. And then the bottom part of the pattern, you can see we have this little upwards trend line right there. And then when we factor in that the price was down there before working its way all the way up here, and then to make things a little bit more visual, put the golf hole down here, this would be a bull pennant pattern. Now, let me be very clear, just because something's in a bullish pattern does not mean for sure guaranteed it's going to work its way upwards. But is it valid? Is it plausible to think that if the price kinds of putzes around here, eventually comes up here and breaks up through there, that could create additional buying pressure? Absolutely. Again, is that a guaranteed outcome? No. But is it a valid question to throw out there as a suggestion? Absolutely. So if you like penny stocks, you like bull pennant patterns, keep an eye on it. Next one here, looking at BBAI, and this will mean a little bit more to those of you that watched the previous video, but I mapped out these areas here of resistance and then support, and you can see the opening part of the day. The price did actually break down through that level, which created more of a pullback, but that's just from a very narrow standpoint, because overall the chart is just fine. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Now, I do note that overall, keyword there, if you're some sort of day trader, flipper, scalper, and you bought right there and your plan was to buy and sell within 7 minutes, well then yeah, from that standpoint, things are looking a little bit rough. But again, overall, even with the pullback here, the chart's looking fine. I'm going to go ahead and extend this line out as I still think that that's the key area of resistance to watch as the week continues to play out. But even with the pullback, not only did the price build a higher low above here, the price is still up above the purple line. So from that angle, I mean, it's hard to say that there's any sort of massive kinks in the armor. Now, if the price over the next couple of days somehow comes down there and crashes through that purple line, okay, that's where the conversation begins to change a little bit. And okay, maybe the bears are starting to take over control. But right now, just because there's a little bit of a pullback here, I would disagree with anybody that says, uh-oh, the bears are fully back in control. Now, of course, they could always regain control, but to say that they're in control right now when the price is still nicely up above this upward sloping 50-period moving average, like I said, I think that'd be a little bit too much of an exaggeration. So overall, the chart is just fine. But yes, technically speaking, if you're a day trader that bought right there, things are looking a little shaky for you. Next one here, TSLL, and very, very rough start on the day. Gap down, then the price dropped all the way down to that low right there. But to give credit where credit's due, the price did battle back very nicely and is able to come all the way back to that area right there. So yeah, good movement, still more work that needs to be done. And also where I think a lot of people will now be watching this area right here at give or take right around $10.85. That is an area where previously you can see rejected the price and then rejected the price a few more times right there. So I'm not saying by any stretch that, breaking that area is impossible to do or anything like that. I'm just saying that given the track record of things right now, as we saw here and here, it's been a struggle every time the price has gotten up around that area. So if there is any sort of, hope or any sort of, realistic expectation that the price gets any upwards momentum, that's going to first start with, can the price at least break above right around that $10.87 mark? On the flip side of things, an important area of support that I would say makes a pretty big difference is down here at that level of $10.35. And I'm not saying this will occur, but just for explanation's sake, if the price were to come back down to that area and then drop down below there, what would that be doing to the price? That would be putting the price right back to this range where it already was. I mean, not to insult your intelligence, but price movements that make a nice bounce and all of a sudden go right back to where it started, not exactly a sign of a genuine bounce. Again, I'm not saying that's what's going to occur, but just trying to explain why I'd consider $10.35 an important area. So it'll be very interesting to see how this one continues to play out on Wednesday. Next one here, BGLC. Going to go through this one a little quicker. You've already heard me talk about this pattern, and I want to respect your time as much as possible. So, like I said, I don't want to sit here and just talk about the same thing over and over again. So we'll just quickly map it out. There is our area of resistance. Here's our area of support. And then just to make it hopefully easier to see, let's keep it one color here. But we have our resistance. We have our support. We have the nice upwards move right here. We have the golf hole down here. So we're looking at another bull pennant pattern. So if you like this price range, you like stocks that can move very, very quickly, and you like bull pennants, here you go. Next one here, BMNR, the crazy, crazy mover continues to get crazy. And this is somewhat of a tricky chart to talk about because as I talked about in other ones, it's all about perspective. Day traders, flippers, scalpers, anyone buying up around here. If you weren't using stop losses or anything like that, this has been a pretty deep pullback here. But if you do care about the bigger picture point of view, then overall the chart does still have plenty of opportunities to build upon the uptrend. I mean, even if you just look at the gap close, so change that to green for a support because gap close tend to act as support. So the price, not only has the price not closed the gap, but I mean, even if it were to come down here and do something like that and then curl back upwards, what you have, again, emphasis on big picture. Well, from the big picture, you'd have a set of lows there, you'd have lows there, you'd have lows there, you'd have lows down here. And if you envision those as stair steps, overall, big picture, you still have stair steps progressing in the upwards direction. Again, I'm well aware that if you're a day trader, flipper, scalper, and you bought right there, you don't care about these big picture stair steps. But that's why I'm trying to make a distinction between somebody that cares about more so the broader scope of things and maybe some sort of day trader. But all in all, the price is still building higher bases. Had a bigger pullback here today, but like I said, assuming you care about the grand scheme of it all, the chart does still have plenty of opportunity to build that higher base. In terms of areas of resistance, got a pretty aggressive trend line right there, but that's the area that I think makes a lot of sense to kind of just gauge the current status of this current pullback right here. So if the price can come up here, push up through there, we'll see if that can generate some more buying pressure. Real quick, want to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online webinar that I'm offering here in a couple of days. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to build consistency and manage risk, then definitely get signed up for the free live class. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description area you can use to sign up, or if you're watching right at my website, there's an area on the webpage that you can use to sign up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying, then definitely get signed up for the free class. Next one here, NVDA, and this will mean more to those of you that have watched the past few videos, but if you have been talking about this overall pattern right here known as a rising wedge pattern, and a rising wedge pattern is actually a bearish pattern. And it took a few days, but the price remained inside of the channel. On Monday, you can see it kept knocking its head on the bottom part of the channel, but today's where the pattern finally kind of brought out its claws. And now, did anybody know that it was going to get that much of a pullback? No. I mean, that would be a lie if I said, oh, I knew it was going to pull back that much. So this was a bigger breakdown than what I would have thought happened, but nonetheless, the bearish pattern, the rising wedge, went into effect today, rejected the price. So we'll get rid of that as it served its purpose for now. And now moving forward, in terms of key battlegrounds, if there is going to be any sort of attempted move back upwards, I would keep a close eye on that purple line right there, the 50-period moving average, currently valued at the 156 mark. And then in regards to areas of support, key area to watch if this thing does come back down, initially going to be right there at 150, 150. And then for more of a bigger picture, keep an eye on that pink line right there. And I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but I mean, if the price were to come down to that area and then break even down through there, once again, I'm not saying that's the end of the line or anything like that, but that would be a pretty big leading indicator that, okay, looks like the bulls have lost quite a bit of their strength. But as of right now, price isn't anywhere close to that pink line. So yes, today was the day where finally that rising wedge pattern went into play. Not just a question of can it recover back upwards and continue on with the uptrend. Next one here, ARBK, and I'll be going through this one very quickly because you've already heard me talk about this pattern before. But yes, we are looking at another bull pennant pattern. Like I said, just want to map it out to make sure you see it, but I also want to respect your time and not just sit here and repeat myself over and over again with all these. So there's the resistance, there's the support, there's a nice upward move right here, there's a golf hole right here. So bull pennant pattern for those of you penny stock lovers out there, here you go. Next one here, HOOD, and one of these where it's kind of a common theme. It's all about, well, it depends. All about your perspective. Day traders, flippers, scalpers that were buying right there, that were hoping to buy and sell within 7 minutes. Yes, from that standpoint, the chart's not looking good for you at all. But if you do care about the grand scheme of things, even with the bigger pullback here, if we just look at, if that's kind of the new low right there, and you compare it with that low, and you compare it with that low, and you compare it with these lows down here, and then you envision these as the stair steps, then you can still very clearly see that, again, emphasis on overall. But from the overall standpoint, the bulls are still very clearly making progress. So ideally speaking, moving forward, this is an area that I would say you'd want to see hold strong, is right here at 89.75. But if that doesn't quite hold, then yes, next preferable level that you'd want to see the bull step up would be at that purple line there, which you now know is that 50-period moving average. in terms of levels of resistance. First key battleground to watch if there is any sort of attempt to move back upward, right here at 94.35, which is kind of interesting. I mean, you can see right there, rejected the price, and then rejected the price right there. So for some reason, I mean, 94.35 seems like kind of a random area, but for whatever reason, there have been sellers that have been hanging around that area. So watch that in the near term as far as areas of resistance are concerned, with the next key level being right up there around 98.25. But all in all, like I said, assuming you care about the big picture, the trend is still plenty in the bulls' favor. Next one here, GVH, a whole lot of drama over the past few days. And now it's looking like maybe it's trying to level out here a little bit. So want to just get a couple of technical levels here drawn into play. So we have that area of resistance right here. And then we have that area of support right there. So we got a bit of a wedge pattern forming. And I wish I could say trading was this easy. And just because there's a big move down and then all of a sudden a wedge forms, that for sure guarantee this is going to head back upwards. My point is it's at least plausible. Case in point, let's just say, and this will mean a little bit more to those of you that have traded for a while, but if you have, I'm sure you've seen things that gap down, and then after they gap down, the price just bleeds and bleeds and bleeds. But that's not the case here. But if I was sitting here saying as it bleeds, hey, it's looking like this could be the bottom, you'd be totally justified to say, wait, what are you talking about? Based on what? The price is literally still bleeding downwards. But that's not the case here. It has at least formed a wedge. Again, does that guarantee that this is going to happen with the breakout to the upside? Of course not. But is it a valid question to throw out there? In my mind, absolutely. So, if you're not going to be a disciplined trader, I mean, you shouldn't be trading at all, but you definitely should not be, putting your toe into these sorts of waters. But these things, when they get bounces back up, they can make pretty crazy moves. So will that happen? Only time will tell. But if you like these sorts of scenarios, certainly keep an eye on it. Next one here at TSLA Tesla, and a rough day on this one, but now we have some pretty well-defined technical levels, especially from the resistance side of things. So you got to think lots of people have probably drawn that resistance line right there, and it goes back to the whole idea that when a lot of people are watching a single level and wondering the same things, especially when you factor in it's Tesla, a whole lot of people know what Tesla is, and it's one of the more popular stocks out there. So again, that still does not guarantee anything per se, but it certainly makes it more than valid, in my opinion, to think that if the price were to come up here and break up through there, that break, like I said, valid to throw out a question mark. Does that break generate a whole nother round of buying pressure just from potential people that like to buy trend line breaks? So keep an eye on that from the breakout standpoint. In terms of areas of support, again, I'm not going to call this a do or die level, but this area here is pretty interesting at 298. So for those people that are bearish, if the price comes down here and breaks down through there and you're thinking, I might want to buy some puts, I might want to try to get short, I can see the logic. Doesn't mean that it'll happen, but I do totally see the logic, because that is, as of now, a key area of support where if it does fail, then I understand your logic of thinking, okay, that's the sign that the bears have taken back over. So a couple of very interesting levels, and it'll be interesting to see how the price continues to behave, relative to these areas over the next couple of days. So that wraps up the top 10 list. Again, if you like what you saw here and you want to learn more about the tool and how it should be used, then definitely get signed up for the class that's coming up here very soon, Thursday, July 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, if you enjoy these, make sure you hit that like button. And also, I have been live streaming. So if you're interested in seeing me trade live, asking me questions, just hanging out, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you are made aware of when I do go live. So if that sounds like of any interest, and like I said, definitely subscribe and turn on the notification. So thanks for watching, and make sure you go get signed up for the free class.